guys, welcome back to another video this week. I hope everyone's doing okay. Hopefully you're staying busy. I have a new recipe for you to try this week. It's going to be a version of picadillo. There's different ways to make picadillo. I already have a recipe for picadillo here on our channel. I'm going to leave the link to that video in the description down below. The version that we're going to be making today is going to be with ground beef, potatoes, and tomato sauce. It's an easy recipe that you can make within a few minutes. For this recipe, you're going to be needing ground beef. When I got my beef, I make sure to get the one that has the less fat in it. So mine is 96% meat, 4% fat. But just make sure that you remove that fat on there if you're going to be using ground meat that is going to have more fat in it. 3 tomatoes. Now, I don't have garlic here at home, but I'm going to be using this can. It already has tomatoes, basil, garlic, and oregano. 2 jalapeños or serrano peppers. 3 to 4 potatoes depending on how big they are. Half an onion cut in half. Cumin. We're going to start off by cutting the potatoes into small squares. You can cut them as big or small as you want. I would suggest cutting it small if you want it to be like a faster cooking. And they're going to be about this size. We're also going to be cutting our tomatoes, onions, serranos, or jalapeños for the sauce. The other half of the onion, we're going to cut it into squares, and we're going to use this to fry our beef. You can cut it as big or small as you like. The tomatoes that I'm going to be using, I would normally put about 6 to 7 tomatoes for this recipe, but since I'm running out of tomatoes, but I have this canned sauce that I got in the store because they didn't have any tomatoes, and this was the last can that it had. It already has garlic in here, but I would recommend not using this can and only using tomatoes by itself with the onion, garlic, and the serranos or jalapeno. It tastes much better in my opinion, and it's natural. You're not adding any canned food in there, but if you want to use it, that's fine. You can also use tomato paste. I used it last time that I made rice because again the stores didn't have any tomatoes. I would use this tomato paste again instead of this tomato sauce that I have that I'm going to be using, just because I feel like it doesn't have the basil and oregano already in there. I can add my own seasonings, but whichever one you want to use, just make sure you have tomato sauce already on there. You're going to start off by adding a little bit of olive oil to a pan. Let that heat up for a minute. And then you're going to add the onion. Let the onion saute, but not too much. After a few seconds, you're going to add your ground beef. Make sure you separate your beef so they're not all in clumps. And we're going to cover this. We're going to let the meat cook. Make sure you have it on medium heat. You're going to see that your meat starts to release water. Once that water evaporates, you're going to saute your ground beef, kind of make it crispy. If you don't want to do this step, you don't have to do it. I just like my ground beef to be a little crispy on there. Once your meat is done, as you can see, mine didn't really leave any oil in here, so I'm just gonna put it directly on a plate. If yours does have oil or it does have that fat from the ground beef, make sure you remove or you drain the ground beef before putting it to the side. That way you can release that oil and you won't be eating that oil that's gonna be sitting in your stomach. Next, you want to add a little bit more of oil and you're gonna saute your potatoes. Just give them a little frying. Once you see, I don't know if you can really tell on camera, but it kind of starts to look transparent. Like it doesn't look like super white or super yellow. It's kind of like a transparent yellow or a transparent white. I don't know if I'm explaining myself correctly, but there's a difference right here in the middle. There's like a different color because it's the middle and the heat has not gone into it, and then the rest of the outside it's already kind of cooked. When you see that point is already on, you're gonna add your tomato sauce. It's up to you if you want this recipe to be saucy. I like mine to be almost like soup, so I'm gonna be adding about 4 cups of water. If you don't like yours to be too soupy, add about 2 cups of water. After your potatoes have been boiling and they're about halfway done, we're gonna add our ground meat. Remember to remove any oil. Let it all boil together for about 5 minutes. Check for the seasoning. If you feel like it's lacking seasoning, add a little bit of the cumin. I'm not gonna add it just because I think the oregano and the basil are, but if you feel like it doesn't, add a little bit of the cumin. I'm also gonna be adding salt and a little bit of the chicken flavor bullion. Now this is optional, you don't have to add it, but I'm gonna be adding about 1 tablespoon of the chicken flavor bullion. Now that you check the taste, we're gonna let it simmer for about 5 more minutes. Okay, so it's been about 5 more minutes now. This dish looks ready. You can accompany this with a side of rice. I'm gonna leave the recipe rice that I have down in the description down below. And this is ready to serve. Alright guys, this is all for today's video. Don't forget to comment down below what other recipe you want me to make next week. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up if you liked it. Share with your friends if you loved it. Follow me on my Instagram page. Tag me on any pictures that you have learned how to make from me. I hope that everybody's staying safe, and we'll see you next week. Bye!